I want to welcome Nirmala, Nirmala Shome from Spirit Level, and also George Clanton. Yo, hello.
Hello.
George, hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the land of the great southern land.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful here.
Have you ever been to Australia?
I haven't.
Dude, how do we make that happen?
End this pandemic.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'd love to come. I took a trip. I took a tour to Europe last year, or I was bag boy for Negative Gemini on tour last year in Europe, and man, it really sucked. So I'm hoping that Australia is a lot more fun.
Yeah, we're fine.
Or maybe if you're not working, Europe would be more fun.
I should introduce Nirmala as well. So Nirmala, George, we'll get to you and we'll talk a bit about your background and the label as well.
Okay, okay, okay.
But for those tuning in, Nirmala works with Spirit Level and works closely with me, running a thing we call the Lab, which is basically our kind of our. Can you call it a vertical? Have you ever called it a vertical, Nirmala? Can
We
we?
can, yeah, we can call it a
It's a
vertical.
vertical.
Yeah, let me call that.
Yeah. Where we
Um,
where we do stuff like this.
mhm.
Is that good? Is that good?
I think that's a good description.
Oh, George, you look so lonely now that you've cut to the wide shot.
I feel really comfortable.
So, George, do you want to tell us, like, for those who are tuned in who maybe aren't familiar with 100% Electronica, can you give us kind of the origin story for you and that community? And where are
Okay,
you right
yeah.
now? We should mention.
I'm in Los Angeles, the city of Los Angeles, California, United States at this moment. In my garage, I can actually, because of the beauty of this, I can show you what that looks like. I'm in the garage. This is where all the business goes down. This is where the stream goes down and where all the packing goes down. Um, and the origin of the label, I guess, I started printing. mm, I started figuring out really cheap ways to print vinyl records in 2014. Um, I think it was 2014 for Vaporwave. The Vaporwave music that I was making at the time, and people weren't printing vinyl records, and I thought, you know what, everyone wants a vinyl Vaporwave record, and I think we printed the first Vaporwave vinyl record with my album Girls Only in 2014, and it did so well that we go, well, you know what, nobody wants to sign my silly ass music anyway, so I'll just make a record label. And we started that, came up with a name for it and named it after my first album, 100% Electronica. And then started with the idea of putting out other people's music. We did Melbourne Natives Surfing's record
Shout the
really
surfing.
early on. And they were the first me or Lindsay. Lindsay is my life partner and lover and caregiver who lives with me, and she co-founded the label with me back then. We started the label, I guess. Yeah, it was just kind of like, you know what? I don't know if it'll take a long time, but I don't know. I feel like record labels' power is dwindling. I had released some singles on some different indie record labels, and it was kind of like, I feel like these guys, they're just going to go with whatever is. They're playing a numbers game, you know, and they're just going to go spend their effort on whatever's making the most money. And it's like, well, I could kind of learn the game, and I'm a smart guy, so we slowly but surely have been building over the years ever since then. And I think we do better than a lot of connected indie labels, but we're really just, it's kind of just a handful of close friends who work on this. We don't have any experience other than what we've drummed up ourselves over the past 10 years. I'm 32 years old and not shy to say that anymore. because you can tell from looking at my hairline. And I feel like, it's been a beautiful thing. I think that we're really, really in the past couple of years, it's become a true force. I think that's recognized outside of the vaporwave subgenre, and is kind of taken seriously by just the indie music world at large as kind of one of the relevant kind of super underground labels.
I think one of the reasons why I really admire 100% Electronica, from the perspective of Spirit Level, it's something that kind of I think about and feel as well, is kind of what you're saying, is that you seem to be focused very much on your community, not just the artists that you've pulled around yourself as the label, but also, you're so great at engaging your audience in a way that is way more direct and authentic than even other indie labels, who, as you say, may have, for whatever reason, their infrastructure has developed to a point where it is the numbers game, and they're thinking about things like, marketing a lot more than I'm sure you're thinking about marketing, but you're doing it in a way that is much more authentic, it feels like, and resonates with people in a very direct way.
Thank you.
Which, and so for me, like, the use of Twitch and just live streaming generally with 100% Electronica is a reflection of that, of a real desire on your part to have fun and communicate with the people that follow your label, rather than simply try to orchestrate a situation to sell them things. But if you happen to sell a couple of things along the way, I'm sure it helps you keep doing what you're doing, so.
Oh, we're selling a lot of things thanks to this stream. And that's it. It's kind of like marketing. Our marketing is, we don't have a marketing department. So our marketing department is me trying to connect with the audience. And as a consumer of music and as an artist, it's kind of like, if you're an active artist, I think that kind of the right choice to make with what a label should be doing is a bit more clear. So what would, the question is always, and I don't have to like really ponder it because it's just the nature of how this is going. It's like, what would I want if I was an artist? What would I want the label to be doing?
Yeah.
And my whole life, my existence is just answering that question every day. I don't have to ask it of myself, but it's just kind of like through the nature of having the label, what are we going to do? What makes a label interesting in 2020? What makes a label necessary, I guess, is
necessary.
Another good question.
Yeah. Because you can sort of make anything interesting, but why do it as a label, and why not do it, just have it as an artist? Why not just do it all yourself? And I think it's, like I said, your label, and I hope Spirit Level in some ways too, is a reflection of the things that a label still can do, which is provide that community, that support, that strength in numbers, and then kind of, find some sort of way of unifying an audience around a group of people rather than just one artist. And, I sometimes describe, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I sometimes describe Spirit Level as a support group for artists as much as a label. Do you know what I mean? Like, I say
a skate team.
Yeah. Street team. Yeah. It's as much as about opening a space where artists can kind of like, share their thoughts and their feelings with each other and lean on each other and support each other. It's the word label a lot of the time doesn't even feel like it suits, because it's still a hangover from like a more, from the 90s or noughties or whatever, this idea of an indie label, which is more just like about managing rights and leveraging brand. But anyway, if we can get back to Twitch, so I've noticed with COVID-19 and, the music industry turning to live streaming, especially like conventional parts of the industry, bookers and live venues and managers of more established artists and all of that kind of stuff. Like, there's been so much conversation about how to replace touring with live streaming, or just how to, insert live streaming into things as a revenue stream. I feel like a lot of maybe conventional industry people I've spoken to just don't understand Twitch, which is fine, because it's never been on their radar, because they don't they don't. They're not really in the culture of following streamers or YouTubers or gaming, or so even just getting over that first hurdle of understanding what Twitch is has been hard, I think, for a lot of people in the music industry. But where I think a lot of them have landed is that they open Twitch, they go to like the music and performing arts section, and they just see rows and rows and rows of thumbnails of like desperate buskers, you know, just like hanging out in front of a camera for 4 hours with their ukulele playing covers of Ariana Grande or whatever gets requested in the chat room. This idea of online busking. A lot of music on Twitch is that. But I'm kind of excited about the fact that you do something different. So can you explain some of the stuff that you do on your stream for anyone who maybe hasn't seen any 100% Electronica streaming?
Yeah, well, it looks kind of like this. And we it started off as kind of a way to announce new product, new releases, new music or new merchandise. And I've got two people with me. I've got a gentleman named Adam who every week wears an unwashed Sailor Moon costume.
There he is. I'm just pulling it up. I'm just pulling it up in the Twitch actually, just to show people. Yeah.
So you can see us playing a violent video game here. This isn't something that we usually do. This was a special opportunity that we were given by Spin magazine, and Rockstar said, okay, we'll retweet you if you want to play Grand Theft Auto 5. And Spin said, we're doing this thing where we're getting musicians to play video games in partnership with Epic. I think it's in partnership with Epic. And even though this is a Rockstar product, Epic is distributing it, at least in part, because I got it on the Epic store for free. They just made this game free last week for a week. And so I fucked around on there. That was something new. But typically our stream is kind of like inspired by an MTV show. We talk about what's going on with the label over the past week, kind of highlight moments that have gone down. And if there's a new album, we sit. Okay, so yeah, you've got us listening to some new music there in the theater mode where we're like Mystery Science Theater. And we just hang out and chat with the audience while we maybe listen to a new album that is coming out that night at midnight, but we're streaming it a few hours early.
Yeah.
People tune in for that. And we get, we touch about 300 viewers every week, which is, we didn't know what to expect, but we're pretty happy with that. And another thing is you can see in the playback of the stream and also here in real life, I've got this siren, and every time someone buys something, it pops up on the screen and the siren goes off. Yeah. So it kind of encourages people to buy the album of whatever artist has a new album coming out that week. So I think this one, it was me. We had Nick. So you can see Nick Hexum is of the band 311. Whoa, Amber is the color of your energy, if you're not a big fan. In the top left, talking with us about a new song that we just released with him on it. And you can see the alarm going off as someone's buying the record in real time while Nick's talking about it. So it's pretty amazing the way that has all played out. We didn't know that it was going to be such a big hit, but during coronavirus of all times, we're breaking sales record after sales record, I think due in no small part due to the stream. Yeah. I mean, I think that we're putting out some really desirable records at this time, just coincidentally. But the stream, it really makes people take notice of what's going on. It's kind of like you might go a couple of weeks without checking in with us. And this way, we talk about what's going to happen next week, what happened last week, and what's happening this week. So people are just kind of, they really know. If you're watching the show, we've got 300 people who really know what's going on. And then they have all of their people that they're speaking with. And in addition to the people who just kind of casually digest our content through email or social media, it's just really strengthened us. And we've seen artists on our label who maybe last year would have been 300 record artists are now doing more like 500 records, and we want to continue. That's part of saying, okay, the label is working. The message is getting a further reach thanks to all of us coming, because we've got all the artists retweeting clips of the video because it's funny, or we're talking about them, or someone in the chat is talking about them. We finally have a community where people can gather together and talk about what we're up to. So the stream is a hoot. We do all kinds of different stuff.
You mentioned like 300 viewers, like touching 300 people every week with the stream. Like I was in another kind of Twitch conversation recently where someone was kind of making the point that, again, like going back to highlighting some of the maybe misconceptions about Twitch as a platform from people who've worked traditionally in the music business. Like a lot of managers and people in the infrastructure of music are kind of still obsessed with numbers, and so they look at a number like 300, or even I think someone used the example of like if you go to a Twitch, an emerging Twitch streamer's page, and you see that like their videos are only getting like 1,000 views or 2,000 views or whatever. Some people would look at that and go like, why would I invest in doing that when I can, jump on this other platform and get tens or hundreds of thousands of views or streams or whatever it might be. But there's a misunderstanding of how different the experience is. Like, would you rather hit 100,000 random people through streams on Spotify because you got added to some playlist, or every week be hitting 300 of largely the same people and actually connecting to them in a way that they feel so engaged that they want to then go and support the label? They remember who you are, of course, as opposed to like those random hundreds of thousands of streams, or those what have become traditional digital metrics that tend to just be people that kind of touch off what you're doing and then disappear and never ever interact again.
Yeah, or even know your name, what you look like, what the story is. I mean, we have at least 300 wild animals who kind of know, they know the name of my dog that died over a year ago. You know what I mean? Like they know. And it's like, okay, well, we have 300 people who are going to support us by buying because weed is legal here, a weed grinder, with our, if we put out a weed grinder, they want the weed grinder. They wear the t-shirt. They want to tell their friends about what they find so interesting about 100% Electronica as a label. And you don't see a lot of people like, labels having, it's easy to get people excited about an artist. I think it's kind of harder to get people excited about a label. A label by its definition is like a business. It's almost like a corporate thing, I mean, certainly we aren't. But well, that's part of the success, I guess. But, I say it's part of our success, but the corporate labels are way more successful, obviously.
Yeah.
But I do think, we see a lot of kind of deep, obsessive interaction with the label that it's just something different. Like I never would have been as obsessed with a label as the people who follow us are, me personally, just because when I was growing up, I never knew of any labels that I thought were doing anything interesting. Now we all have broadband internet. It might have been a different thing then, but like, I don't know. I mean, I had MTV when I was young, so I still see it. This is trying to fill that void, me living that fantasy, because even if I was super famous, I could never be on MTV. There's just no place for Lady Gaga to be on MTV. So we're just having fun in our own way, more of an Adult Swimmy kind of way.
Yeah. How do you find that people are discovering your label through Twitch? Because because I'm still new to Twitch. Like, in case anyone hasn't figured this out, this is basically Nirmala, and it's mainly me at the moment. Nirmala's hogging the chat, but Yeah, this is basically us picking your brain about what you do in a very mercantile way. So like we can take it away and exploit all of this knowledge ourselves at spirit level. George, that's exactly what we're doing here.
Good. And anyone else, I feel like if whatever we're doing, because if I see a good idea, damn right, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people, we kind of stumbled on this thing that's obviously, I mean, in my book, it's an obvious home run. We're in our 13th episode, 13th week of doing it, but our first couple of weeks were just like me and Lindsay, like sitting, playing Harry Potter music and sitting in front of a Harry Potter GIF background over Christmas, talking about Christmas stuff, playing the Harry Potter Christmas song, so, it really hasn't come into its own with the format until the past couple of weeks. I'm really meandery, but so I didn't even answer your question good.
It's good. Meandering is the way of Twitch, isn't it?
Yeah, we can do whatever.
Minimum 3-hour streams, I've heard.
Watching them
is advice for Twitch.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, there is like a Twitch rep in Australia who's really active and has been really getting on the front foot in terms of reaching out to artists and other musicians and stuff who are flirting with Twitch. And yeah, I had a conversation with him a little bit ago, and like a few weeks ago, and that was one of his things. It was like, you got to go for a minimum 3 hours. Which I think for most people is really intimidating. Like my day job is that I'm a radio host. Like I do 4 hours of radio every day. So talking for 3 hours is like, yeah, fine. But I can imagine how that's like a pretty weird thing for some. It kind of actually gets me to this question, which is like, the 100% Electronica fan base is extremely digitally savvy. It's come out of, as you said, like the Vaporwave movement, where a lot of the fans are obviously deeply invested in the internet. So many of them are already probably Twitch streamers, not streamers, or just Twitch users before you even started doing your show. And then also I guess the aesthetic of the label and your personal kind of tastes, that kind of leans you into a place where you can make content that feels really native on Twitch. I feel like there's probably a lot of people who just don't feel like Twitch can be a home for them because they don't feel like they can sustain that amount of streaming, that commitment, or their aesthetic doesn't feel right. How much do you reckon the success so far of your stream has just been that like you're the right label and the right kind of person to do it?
I mean, I think that if there's a label, relatively, we have a really small viewership. Now, I think that, 300 people, it's a lot compared to how many people are watching right now, but like most of the people on Twitch, I guess we're in the top percent. But if you go on Twitch and you watch somebody playing one of these fucking killing games, there's like 10,000 people watching them at any time. And I'm like, why don't you just play the game? You know what I'm saying? Like half the time, if it's Fortnite, it's free. Why aren't you playing the game? Why are you watching this, this guy scream at people? I don't understand that, but I would watch a show that's, about the music that I love. So, I don't really know much about Twitch. I never digested it myself. I'm not Twitch savvy. We're figuring it out as we go. And one of the tips that I got was, you were talking about how music, it's just people busking and it's kind of sad. It's not really working for Twitch. Music on Twitch is not necessarily a match made in heaven. Yet I think people are still, Twitch is still relatively new. Any type of music streaming is still kind of relatively new. I mean, I see a lot of what I think is sad, boring stuff on music streaming, particularly during coronavirus, now that everyone's trying it, whether it works for them or not. But we switched from music to just chatting category, which is the most popular category on Twitch. And I think it's more relevant to what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
We do play music on the show, but, primarily it's kind of it's a pretty high octane thing, when it's like one thing, by the time something's getting stale, I just feel it. And I go into, okay, if we're listening to people's demo submissions and kind of making fun of them or giving them critiques or telling them that they did a good job, that gets boring after a few tries. So now let's take calls and ask people random questions, like trivia questions, to give them free shit. And people call into the show, and that's exciting, you know. And then let's have Nick Hexum call in, or whoever our guest for this week is. You know, that was obviously really exciting for all of us. And you know, not that much. It's not someone sitting around busking, so it's more of like, it's got more in common with a late night talk show than it does anything else. It's truly a variety show. Literally. I forgot what the question was, because I had an answer for the question too, but I forgot what the hell we were talking about. I think I tried to answer a question from 6 questions ago.
I think you answered the question. I was actually just curious about, you know, we were just talking about how long, I mean, you guys stream for, is it like 2 hours at least? How long does it take you to like set up? Because I want to get into, you know, just hear about, you know, because you mentioned too, you've only been doing this for 13 weeks. Like looking at, you know, the fact that you've got sirens hooked up and all this kind of stuff. Like, what is the like ramp up to get to that point? Like if you're just starting off with simple backgrounds and now you've kind of got this, you know, awesome setup. Yeah, it'd be good to just hear about what your current setup is and how you figured that out yourself, or if you got help.
I'd love to. Yes. So I'm not Twitch savvy, but I am tech savvy. You know, I've been into computers since I was a little baby, and all of this stuff kind of comes natural to me. So I think, yeah, okay. I kind of remember the last question too. So I'm always on a 1-question buffer. So I think that I can kind of
delay.
Make it all make sense here. For people who aren't like internet savvy, or maybe, you know, I think that one of my skills is that I can be a good, like in another life, I could be a talk show host or something like that. You know, maybe not the best one, but certainly a above average on being able to talk to anyone or talk about nothing for a long time, or just being comfortable in front of the spotlight. So that's one thing. I think that, you know, if it was up to Lindsay's not really comfortable in front of the camera like that, or talking, or in what she's saying. So you can watch kind of the earlier episodes and see Lindsay, my partner, my girlfriend, my love. She's kind of quiet, nervous. And then she's found her place in the stream over time as kind of the angry one. So she has a lot of an inability to control her anger. So she just kind of waits for someone to say something fucked up in the chat and then goes off on them. And she's really comfortable doing that. So, you know, find what you're good at, I think. Build
Lindsay's
a little.
in the chat now too, by the way, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
yes, my fiance. And, you know, so she can come in here at any moment and, you know, see what she looks like. I'm proud of what she looks like. I love Lindsay. And, you know, so getting the start, I guess, is the hard part. But then we just said, let's just keep doing it every week, you know. And the first several were very technically fucked. But because I've never done anything like this before, and I think that the solution was to just start doing it. And your fans, if they love you, they'll think it's funny when you're fucking up, and that it's fun. And I think that we played that off. It would get old if it was bad every week, but we got better and better each week, and now we've kind of entered into a flow. So there's a lot less setup. It took a lifetime of setup to kind of get to this point, because part of having these things, for the people who are just tuning in now, part of having this siren go off when someone buys something, that took a little while to pull off. So if now's the time to kind of get into the nitty gritty, just as we're doubling our viewership here, get into the nitty gritty boring stuff.
Let's talk about video capture cards and shit like that. Yeah,
I'd love to. So that was part of the problem. Like in our early days, I was using a video capture card that was USB. I was using the Elgato Camlink 4K with my camera, and I'm not going to dwell on any of these details, but just kind of explain obstacles that I hit and how I overcame them. Why not?
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
that was freezing up midstream, and I couldn't fix it without ending the stream and starting it over again. So that's a nightmare, kind of the highest level of mistake that you can hit. And I didn't want to, basically I gave up on that and I sold it, and I got a card that plugs into your motherboard. So I had to open the computer up and shove this into the PCI slot. So I got one of those. It's an HDMI card. It was $100 and maybe $200 on newegg.com. That's US dollars. So
that's like $4,000 in Australia.
Yeah, 4,000 Australian. And that's been working flawlessly. So that was one obstacle that needed to be overcome. Figuring out, am I going to use OBS or am I going to use Streamlabs OBS? Or am I going to use Mac or am I going to use Windows? So I was using a Macintosh, Hackintosh, like a Macintosh that you build yourself, because I'm native to Apple software. That's what I know mostly. But, Windows is easy. It's made for everybody. So ultimately, using Mac ended up giving me more problems than most people are streaming on Windows because they're gaming, so most of the streaming tools are based around gaming. So I turned it into a Windows computer instead. That was a learning experience. That took a couple of weeks, it took a lot of my time. So I ended up using OBS instead of Streamlabs. I feel like Streamlabs is made to be easier for the up-and-comer, for basically someone who knows nothing about streaming, who doesn't want a complicated setup, to just hop onto Fortnite, have an overlay that they can select from one of 12 overlays, have their donations in there, have their chat overlay, have it all. Now, we wanted a modular system, so I use OBS Studio. It's kind of the difference between using GarageBand and Logic Pro for music production,
Yeah.
So because I'm using OBS, that lets me use things like, and this is some more technical shit. So if you're into video and you're into video editing, you can use LUTs. So that is kind of like a preset for how the colors and lighting affects your camera. So I'm using a professional camera that I already owned, running HDMI into the computer. It's a Sony A7S II, which is like a camera that you can make movies on. So I'm using the movie preset on it, and I'm using a Filmic LUT. So, right now I'm super zoomed in on 1080p, and I can also see that I'm stretched. But on our regular stream, it usually, it looks quite good. When it's full screen with all three of us sitting there, it's a pretty professional look, and we've hyped the colors a lot. You can get in there and really tweak things so it doesn't look natural, but we've got this really vibrant kind of signature look to us that I think is attention grabby. It goes along with our glitched backgrounds. Excuse my just burped on camera directly into the microphone.
Burp more, please.
And
we're here for the burps.
This is behind the scenes, right?
Exactly.
Lindsay has just entered the room. I don't know what she's doing. She's waiting for her big entrance. Looks like she's put some really cool, like early 2000s hair product into her hair. It's very lay flat and stringy.
Yeah,
we just started watching Entourage, so I think she's inspired by that.
If anyone in the chat has really like random technical questions, I don't know if that's stuff that you normally cover in your streams, but this could be a good chance. There are a couple of you called them wild animals. I think there's a few of them here. So yeah, if you've got questions, hey Lindsay.
Hey.
What's up?
Oh, nothing much. How
Thanks
are
for joining
you
us.
guys?
Yeah, we're good. It's
sorry
morning.
that I'm late.
It's morning. We're just getting it together.
It's morning there?
Yes. Yep.
It's
coming up on 11 a.m.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're in the future. It's Tuesday over here, so
crazy.
the But no, that's all. Yeah, no, it's good to hear. And I think like someone's just posted a question too. Like, do you really pre-plan the shows? Like, I think there's like the time you stream, and then there's like how much time do you take just to organize them or like program them? Like, I know the one you did on the weekend, that was kind of a big one. But just your regular one, like how much like pre-prep are you doing for the shows?
Almost none. So typically we might have a plan. I mean, we definitely have a plan. And even for the one last week, it wasn't properly planned out. I had never played Grand Theft Auto before, and I had just gotten it working about 10 minutes before the stream, because I found out to go online, you have to play a bit of the story mode first before you're allowed to go online. So that took me like 30 minutes. I was sitting here like waiting for all the videos to go by. So it's always kind of fly by the seat of your pants, because 100% of the time we're doing something. Like, I just finished mixing the George Clanton Nick Hexum record today before hopping on here 30 minutes before, we went live. So it's always like that. We wanted to do a plan on what we were going to talk about. And I said, it's just a busy time for me. And, this wasn't planned. We're planned out about that much. So Lindsay's like, what are we going to do?
We kind of like figure out the most basic skeleton of like things that we're going to do. And that's about it.
Yeah, we'll say, okay, let's start just by, I say, chit-chatting. So we're basically just like saying whatever comes to our mind that's been going on for 20 or so minutes. And then we go into our first program, which would be maybe talking about the new song that we have premiering that week. And then we'll say, okay, so we're going to premiere the video, and then we'll go into listening to demos, and then we'll go into taking phone calls. Or we might say, okay, let's take phone calls until we get about 250 people. Then we'll premiere the video. Then we'll review demos, and then we'll take calls again at the end to give something away. Like, we'll come up with like a B, C, D format, but don't really think too much about when we're going to do it. How's it going to happen? I think I take about 20 minutes before the stream to kind of change things around. So like you can see, like if we have someone coming on Skype, I press a button and it pops up in the corner there as a TV. Or I update the outro every week because we thank the fan club members and we thank our donators from the previous week. So I have to update those numbers every week.
But everything's changing so fast, I think. And we're still new, that I wonder if we'll look at, episodes we're doing now 6 months from now and laugh at how
1,000%.
chaotic it is, because that's how we see like even videos from December. We're like, man, like this is hilarious.
Yeah, but do you think people like respond to the fact that it might be a bit chaotic? Do you know, like if
I think people,
if it gets too slick,
it's kind of like when like a performer like messes up or something, like it kind of like captures everyone's attention and they're rooting for you all, or they're rooting for you is like an American thing to say.
Yeah, rooting.
I know
means
in other
sex
places
in Australia. We would say plowing.
But that's not what I mean.
The dilemma of the root, we are quite familiar
People
with.
start
It's all good.
cheering you on more
Yeah.
when you mess up sometimes. So I feel like sometimes it's like that. Sometimes they're enjoying it when we fuck up.
Yeah. And I think that maybe me and Lindsay are arguing about 60 seconds before the stream goes live, screaming at each other about what the hell is wrong with the stream. How come the mic isn't working?
Is the mic muted?
That was literally Tim and I
That was
before,
us, yeah.
actually. Yeah. Trying to figure out how to get it working.
Happens.
And I think that energy, that gets us pumped up, and it makes for kind of a chaotic, fun show to watch. It's always informal, and I think that it gives people an opportunity to see who we are as our true selves, instead of kind of like that clip of Bill O'Reilly going, fuck it, we'll do it live, and then go, okay, everybody, that was the O'Reilly factor. It's like there's no difference between before and after the cameras start rolling. Like we'll freak out on camera if we have to. And I think that that's, you know, that's part of it. We're perfectly imperfect. And I mean, maybe we won't think that in the future, and we'll be polished and we'll have 10,000 people watching or something. But right now it's just fun for us. If it was hard work, I mean, it is very hard work, and I could continue to talk about how much has gone into the stream as we've done it incrementally, bit by bit, to make it better and better. And I know we already have a question about the motion backgrounds, but if it wasn't fun, I don't guess that we would do it or be willing to put as much work into it. It's fun, just like making music. I mean, I get artistic validation isn't the right word, but like artistic fulfillment out of doing the show. I feel like this is an extension of me as an artist, the way it looks, the format. It's kind of the voice of the label. I feel like the stream itself is a piece of art, like a song, you know.
Have you found many Twitch users have discovered you through the platform? Because you've obviously got a lot of your existing fans joining you, but have you found like just random people on Twitch just finding you and joining in and then becoming part of it?
I don't think so. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm sure that some people have, but I don't think so, because it is quite a specific thing. I think that our best bet is we do have kind of a secret long-term plan for this stream where we're going to make it a little bit more label neutral and try to actually turn it into a true Total Request Live, MTV in the 90s experience, where, you know, right now we're doing about an hour and a half, and we see our viewership start to trail off after about that. Now, I don't know if it's because it's starting to get late on the East Coast at that time, the time that we choose to do it, or because an hour and a half is about as much as you can take of the three of us talking. So,
Or most things, really, you know, like traditionally, entertainment, or films or whatever.
Perfect. A film, exactly. So unless you're fucking Harry Potter, forget about it, baby. You know, like, I can't watch an hour and a half. And this is the second time I bring up Harry Potter. I'm not even a big Harry Potter head. It just is coming up because we're thinking about getting a cat that looks like
We got Harry Potter on the brain.
Harry Potter on the brain. So, I don't think so, but I think that most people on Twitch are looking for games. But I do think that we have something kind of interesting. We're going to start having other forms of artists on the show and musicians outside of the label on the show. We want to open it up to partnering with a big music platform, so that, you know, somebody who wants a charismatic show that's already hit the ground running, and who has kind of indie cred. Like, I think that some artists would be more inclined to talk to another artist than it would be a show that blank is putting together for the sake of having a show. Why not mix the two things? So I think that we're pursuing a mutually beneficial situation like that, where we can make the stream about 100% electronica, but also just about the music, underground music at large, because I think that there isn't anything like that right now, as much as it seems like there should be, or there's not a. I'm really bad with words. I'm trying to think of the word, nexus. There's not a centralized nexus for these things, you know, as Pitchfork kind of dies and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting point. Like, I was just, you know, and you talk about like partnering with a music platform, streaming platform. I mean, just recently, like Joe Rogan getting signed to Spotify for $100 million, you know, for a year or something, which is insane. It's kind of like what, you know, I think it's like Spotify as a streaming platform is looking at content, you know, and like what is just, rather than it being like, this is music, this is video, this is whatever, it's just like content and like what is the new formats And I think, yeah, I mean, I think the stream that you guys do is kind of an experiment in that. Like, what are the different things you can be doing with, you know, the different tools that isn't yet defined? Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other, like, are there any other Twitch streams or even just YouTube streams or whatever that you follow that you look at and go, okay, yeah, they're doing something interesting and cool? Yeah, it'd be good to hear that.
So this is the cockiest, most terrible thing ever. No. So I haven't really seen anything that I thought. Let's just go full on cocky. I consider my time to be like super valuable, and I don't do a lot of leisurely stuff. I feel like I've just hit this momentum to where I'm working all the time and I get a lot done. So it's kind of addictive and I can't stop working all the time. And so basically, like, Lindsay likes to watch 90 Day Fiance. And so I have learned to like to watch that with her. And that's what we do with our time, our free time late at night to try to chill out. But during the week, during the day, it's constant. How, you know, what can we do? Because I feel like we're just like, I always feel like we're in the middle of our moment and then something even more happens and I go, oh, we weren't in our moment last month. Now we're in our moment and we have more to do. So because things are growing so rapidly and I feel like I'm living my dream, I don't fuck around and like watch a lot of content, which is maybe not the best for the stream because you can get a lot of ideas. One of the best ideas, or one of the things that I got, was someone in my fan club and who's in this chat right now called Randochi linked in my fan clubs, which is a whole nother story, my fan club's Discord, a link to someone on Twitch called Sushi Ninja, which is like, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was really inspiring to you.
And it's kind of like this guy, I don't know what he does, if he plays games or whatever. Randochi just linked to a couple of like 30-second clips, and it's this guy, if you can look him up, he seems to have kind of a crazy kooky show and just has like 9 different cameras and they're all doing different effects. And that was kind of inspiring to me. Like, I saw him do something like where his stream fucked up and he was controlling it with his motion of his hand, and then he like made the meme like explosion sound go off where it's like and I guess you didn't see that, did you? That didn't come up on the screen, but I press a button and it like does the static on our stream if we're doing OBS. I thought that it would come up for us, but I'm realizing it's not.
Oh shit, here he is.
Yeah, so he's got all of these like different it's really technologically advanced. Just incredible technology that he's using. And that's kind of my favorite part about the stream is how we're doing it technically, because there's so many moving parts and it's so interesting. I'd love to talk a little bit more about that later, as I've forgotten what the question was in the
No, you answered the question. The question was like, yeah, if there's anyone else that you think is doing something interesting, and yeah, the Sushi Dragon is
Sushi Dragon. I'm sorry, I said Sushi Ninja. I knew it was like some sort of like thing like that.
No, that's fine.
I'll just leave him up there. We can watch. We can watch him.
One thing you just briefly mentioned too was your Discord. Is that something that you recently set up? Because I think Discord is another thing that I've been seeing a lot of, and it's kind of like a better version of Slack that's free. I kind of feel like, but yeah, well, I mean, how does your Discord work? Are you in it all the time? Like, is it a lot to maintain on top of all
I see him in there all the time.
Lindsay says I'm in there all the time, but I think that my fan club would say that I'm rarely in there. It just depends on your perspective. So I've had it for quite a while. It's not since the dawn. I have a fan club where I charge a monthly expense basically, and officially the reason is just for me being me is what you pay for. but and that you want to support me as a independent artist. But there's a lot of different. So once you do that, then you get all this other stuff kind of for free. So there's unreleased music, and then there's a Discord where people can kind of. I don't really answer my DMs anymore because I get a lot of politically themed threats and just bullshit. And typically, it's always someone asking you to do something for them, or someone, asking a question about their order, which I used to answer everything, but we have channels for that now, and it's just like, if I'm going to live my life, like, I have to kind of limit my exposure to who I'm interacting with, because
it's for your mental health. You've got to set,
there's so much going on at this point that if you wanted to respond to everything, it's impossible. And I went through a phase where I had to learn that the hard way because of how crazy I was becoming as a person living in isolation, trying to keep up with everything. But Discord, it's cool. You can do some interesting things with it. I just consider it kind of like a chat room that I can make private. But I can link it to, so there are some things in this room. One of the more technical things that we do here is we have this room that we do all of our fulfillment out of. It has lights, all the lights, and like someone could move the camera right now on another Twitch that we're running 24/7 by typing in right or left. They're making the police beacon on the wall go off right now, and they can also control the music. So there's like a radio station of our music, whatever we have in stock on the records, going at all times. And go back to myself here. Yeah, Lindsay's here.
Yeah,
so anyway,
yeah, I think this is a thing, like, your 360 setup, because I think I saw you stream once, and you were actually like, it was you guys, and it was the background, and someone on the screen behind you. Like, it was pretty. This seems it's cool.
Yeah, and you could see in that other camera that we just flipped to, you can see like the setup that we've got going on here that we just leave up. We never take down. And that makes it, a lot easier to do the stream every week.
Yeah, well, this is our, a corner of our fulfillment center, which is our garage, is dedicated to streaming. We just leave it on all the time. And when we're not here, you can see the matrix code coming down on our 3 screens on this camera that's in the corner that's streaming. This camera, just to be perfectly clear, this camera is streaming 24/7. They're making our neon light blink on and off right now just as a response. It's probably Randochi, or everybody here knows how to do it. And so part of that is that they can control the music. They can speed the one thing they can do is they can speed the music up. They can slow it down. They can put vaporwavy effects that I programmed into it. And they make the lights turn on and off. And we use that as background music during our show. And so during our Twitch stream, our fans, the people who are watching the show, are DJing the background music simultaneously. So it's interactive on that level. And we use the same technology to, when someone's on the phone, we have a little timer that's running in the top left corner. And when someone's on the phone, people can type in more time or less time into our chat, and it will take away 3 seconds every time someone says less time if the caller sucks. Or if the caller's doing a great job and they want to hear more from them, they can keep typing in more time, and they'll stay on with us. And then when it reaches 0, the screen explodes and they're automatically hung up on. And that's a program that someone who doesn't know anything about programming, wrote for the show. And I think that anybody can do it. I don't know if you guys are aware, and I don't know anything about Twitch, but the first thing that I really saw about Twitch was there was a news story on one of these things where it was like, someone right now, there are 1,000 people playing Pokemon together right now as a chat room. And it was called Twitch Plays, right? And you type in up, down, left, right, and it moves Ash Ketchum around in the Pokemon world. And so I was aware of this years ago. And so when it came time for me to want people to be able to use chat commands to control the camera to move up, down, left, right, I go, you know what? I know that they did this for Pokemon years ago. Let me see how they did that. And so I started looking into how it was done. And I downloaded a script that was made to run Pokemon through chat. And then I changed it to, instead of to press buttons in a Pokemon emulator, it pressed buttons on my camera. And so the first thing was moving the camera up, down, and left and right. And then I just kept adding. As I learned more and more, I realized, okay, I can put all of these lights, I can hook these up to something called If This Then That, which is ifttt.com. Yeah, you know about that? Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've used it like for stupid things, like when I had an Amazon Alexa, you can kind of trigger it. You know, you can plug it into different things to do stuff. But it's cool. It's super powerful as a tool.
It's so modular that it's like it's limited by your imagination in some ways. So I have it set up to where it's like, okay, on IFTTT, it's triggered by a webhook, which for people who don't know is basically like a website in layman's terms, because I'm a layman. This is the only way that I understand it. It's basically like a website, and instead of loading up on your browser, when you go to the website and when you type in the URL and you click enter, it triggers the IFTTT program to turn your light on or to turn your light off. So I wrote in that program, the Twitch Plays program, to where someone says blue in the stream, it triggers my light bulbs by webhook. It basically, the program makes it go to a website, which is a webhook, quote unquote. I'm probably meandering in a way that's made Lindsay completely dissociate from her body, and she's watching from a spirit above us right now.
No, I think that's really, it's crazy. Actually, it's interesting to hear that you're using IFTTT actually, because I was curious, like, what is the program that you use? And it's good to know that it's just this stuff that is freely accessible. And just like downloading code and just adjusting it. That's awesome.
It's I don't know Python, but I learned enough because it's so easily readable just to edit other people's take what I need from other people's programs and make it work. And it took a long time, but like it was fun. And now I can do a lot more. That's how this light goes off when if anyone bought anything right now, this would go off because Shopify sends a webhook to IFTTT that makes all of the lights in the room go off. So if you're on the 24/7 cam and you buy something, it says, if your name's Paul and you live in Texas, for example, it says, Paul in Texas just bought this t-shirt. Thanks, Paul. And all the lights go off. And when someone buys something on the website, the checkout page has our live stream embedded into it so they can see all the lights going off and us thanking them on there. And I just think that that's so like,
it's like
it's
extreme.
Kind of dorky.
Yeah. No, it's like a very like talking, like Tim was kind of talking about, like, that are, like just like traditionally thinking about viewership and sales and numbers. It's like such a direct
it's
way
the most direct connection you can have, and the fact that it's facilitated by tools that pretty much anyone can download and get their head around. It might take a bit of time, depending on how technically minded you already are, but yeah, the idea that you can end a transaction with literally you turning up on screen and going, thanks, Paul from Texas, is like, that's as close as they can get to having come and bought it from you directly in person, like at the merch stand or something. It's like, and to be able to achieve that without necessarily investing like tens of thousands of dollars to develop an app or something to make it happen is like, that's when these tools feel like they're actually being used like in the service of an independent artist. You know what I mean? Which is really cool.
I think that sorry.
No. Well, just there are a couple of things that came up I wanted to kind of get back to. I think one it was really important to talk about, I think, which is just the investment of time and money as well, I guess, to some extent. You know, I imagine you've bought a bunch of stuff to make this happen, screens and cameras, and probably when you have a new idea, a lot of the time that might necessitate, okay, I need to go and buy another camera in order to make that happen. But maybe those costs are kind of absorbable, but the time thing is pretty real, I think, and something that I think maybe we don't talk enough about, especially because when you start looking around on Twitch and you look at the way Twitch streamers have set themselves up full time, you do realize that it's not just, you know, streaming 3, 4, 5 times a week for hours at a time. It's the time invested in preparing the content if necessary, but also the time they need to spend on Discord, the time they need to spend on their social media, the time they're spent here and there. Like, it rapidly becomes a full-time job. And for the streamers who are seeing millions of views and getting lots of donations and merch and stuff, they're probably doing a pretty good out of it. But there is this level of streamers who are investing intense amounts of time and not really being able to support it. So, you know, you don't have to speak to specifics, but I'm curious where you stand on that, like in terms of how sustainable it is to be investing all this time, not just on the Twitch, but like, as you say, across the fan club, Discord, all the other things that you've committed to, all these kind of things that need maintenance. Like, essentially it's the two sides of the coin a bit of having this engaged community. Is on the one hand, it's amazing because you can activate them and engage with them, but the flip side is you have to spend all your time engaging with them. Like, how do you find that balance and how sustainable is it?
I've had to sacrifice, I think, all other like elements of my life. So I don't have friends that I spend time with in life. I don't do anything else. This is it. So, but because it was my dream as a child and is my dream as an adult, I'm living my dream. I can do it. It's not like working 100 hours a week for Amazon, which I don't even think is legally possible. Working 100 hours a week for yourself is, I think I'm in a position where I have real and measurable results on everything that I do. So that's what makes it, that's what leads to me working this much. If I didn't have the immediate response, I don't know that I would be working this hard. But like I was talking earlier, it's like the next month, it seems like, okay, I thought I was peaking last month, but you know, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And the snowball, it's slow. It's so slow. I don't think that me as an artist or us as a label have ever had like this big moment, you know, where it's just like, we're the hot thing. We've always just been kind of a super underground indie thing that's just been bubbling just beneath the surface for years now. And I think that people, they all kind of know about us, but maybe they don't know any of the artists that are on the label. They've definitely, you know, heard the name. Maybe they know what the t-shirt looks like because they're everywhere. But, you know, like, it's so, I guess it's so fulfilling that I keep doing it. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not nuts or like a shell of who I used to be as a more diverse, a person of diverse interests and, you know, time for friends. You know, I have had to sacrifice a lot of things where, you know, maybe my friends don't like me as much as they used to. And I hope that they understand that this is kind of like an exceptional situation to where it's just something that I have to do. But no,
I do think that, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, yeah.
I do think that, you know, you spent maybe like, there were like 2 weeks when you were just learning code and trying to set up all these crazy features for the stream. And then after that, you know, you got to kind of like just reap the benefits of that work for a while and focus on the next thing.
Yeah, so we started the stream, and the stream didn't have even any avenue to make money. But I was thinking long term at the time, and I was like, I want the stream to be interactive, because our mantra for 2020 is interactivity. And we had this huge thing. I think we can talk about it now. I've never talked about it, but we had this huge thing for the Red Bull Music Festival that was going to be like the biggest thing that we had ever done. And it was canceled due to coronavirus. And I spent weeks on it learning how to program. I programmed 24 computers to work to kind of control and manipulate music in real time, to where people could come off of the street and just very briefly come off of the street and interact with our music and make music using our music as in the true vaporwave sense. For people who don't know what vaporwave is, I know everyone in the chat does right now, but for video on demand viewers, vaporwave has a history of taking other music and manipulating it to create a new song. And so we had created this program that I wrote by using other programs, pieces of other programs. And I'm not going to get into the details of how that works, because I wrote a virtual reality video game version that works in VR chat. It's so storied. My mind makes all these connections, and I start talking about something else. Like, I don't remember what I'm supposed to be talking about, but
I think the point, it's relevant. It's relevant though, because I think it makes me think about, like, you said it yourself. Like, this is sort of like your dream is to be working on this stuff. Like you this is you. Like, it's an extension of you and who you are and what's important to you. And I think something I think it's important to mention, like in the context of just music and artists in general, is that it's such a challenging, already before COVID-19, it's a really challenging thing to be an artist and sustain yourself through music and through art. And, to devote time to a thing that doesn't necessarily reap you much income in return is a pretty difficult thing for a lot of people to find that balance. And, COVID-19, even before this, but especially now during COVID-19, people are like, oh, maybe this is a new solution. Maybe like live streaming is going to open up a new model, or even like a broader model of, direct to fan, or whatever you want to call it, things like Patreon. And I think it's important to reiterate that those things are exciting tools, and for the right person, and it could be a lot of people, I don't know, but for the right person, you can create something amazing. But it's not necessarily, it's no more a savior for the music industry or for, generating revenue or anything than any other idea that's come along in the last 10 to 20 years. It's appropriate for some, but it's a massive time investment, and not necessarily with direct reward. It's more of a long-term play. Because of that, I don't have any patience for people who don't work and they want, you see people on Twitter being like, yeah, how come people be sleeping on my album? Like they'll tweeting that out, like, whatever, just something. And I perceive that to be an insult to what I do as an artist, and selling yourself really short. And I was like that when I was young. I didn't understand. I remember, I say this all the time, like I put my music up on MySpace and then I just sat back and waited to be famous. I thought that people were just scouring MySpace looking for someone to sign, and they sign you. But I'm from the country, and I had no one, and I have never had any mentor who showed me the way. And so that's why I'm kind of only just now hitting in my 30s. Like, and I've had a couple of mentees, and it's like, whether you're going to listen to the lesson or not, I don't know. If sometimes when you're young, you can't get the message, but I mean, when
I just never gave up. And I think that we'd have a lot more people making better music and making a bigger impact if they were just patient and didn't have this idea that you had to do it straight away. But I think that that's a good thing. Like, if you're not willing to work, you don't deserve it. And that's just because I had to work so hard. And I get pissed off. I get infuriated when I read comments about me like, oh, George Clanton. Yeah, he came out of nowhere. Like, he's just obviously
he's just rich. He's
got
got
rich
money.
But I can assure you that I don't know very many people who were any poorer than I was, when I was in my early 20s. Like, it was scary. And, so it's like, this is from the ground up and just never giving up. And it's like, if you really, I don't think that I'm the most talented person. Clearly I'm not. I'm not even in the top whatever percent. You look at my shit and I've got 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and a year ago it was 70 or something, and even 200 is not very much. I mean, there are artists that I've never heard of who just came out last week with 500,000. So just depending on your perspective, 200 is an incredible amount. I'm very grateful for it. And I mean, it's as most as I've ever had. And I'm really happy with my life and where my music has come, how far it's come. But I mean, these people being like, I guess the long story short is you have to be willing to make sacrifices for anything that's worth getting, like that's like the oldest story in the book. And I think that some people are I think that I'm like a natural, like entrepreneur type person who's willing to fight tooth and nail for what they want. And
Capricorn.
Lindsay thinks that it's a magic spell that's doing it, but yeah, if you're not going to work, get off.
No, I think that's, I totally agree. And I'm curious too, like, do you feel like, because I know you started, really investing in the stream like 13 weeks ago, which is essentially when COVID started. If COVID, if the pandemic didn't happen, we weren't in lockdown, in isolation, would you have spent as much time on the stream? Or do you feel like this is really, it gave you the opportunity to do it?
I'd be on the longest tour of my life with the garden right now.
Oh,
so,
okay.
No, our plan was to do eventually for this to be a monthly stream. We were going to get the plan originally was, let's get 7 different streams going at the same time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then once a month, we'll come in, me as the Godfather will come in, do the highlights of the best moments that have happened on all the streams that have happened over the month. We'll do like a top 10 countdown. We'll play all the best music that came out that week, and we'll kind of give people the rundown, and we'll call it the big stream. Well, as it turned out, the big stream was the only stream to exist, and we just started doing it every month, and we call it the big stream. It doesn't make any sense. It's the stupidest name ever.
Started doing it every week.
But we do it every week. And so that was totally different. We were doing them once a month. We started doing
doing them at like seemingly random times. And then we were like, well, why don't we just have it the same time and the same day every week?
And we couldn't because I was going to be on the road. We had our festival that we have every year, but just didn't get to do it the second year in a row, which is 100% Electronica. That was planned for October, right after the garden tour. And before that, we had this massive Red Bull event that I had to do so much for, like as far as really getting my hands dirty. So it was like, well, there's no time to do it. Now there is time. And now instead of having a Red Bull music event, we're putting that same amount of effort and expectation on return on investment into the stream. I want the stream to be on TV one day, or at least having an equivalent reach. So we have a plan for that. It's like, it's a couple-year plan, but it's getting bigger every week, and it's worth the effort. Yeah. Anything is worth your effort. I mean, you have people who are playing, all the big streamers played for thousands of hours before they became the #1 streamer, and then they make their living. You know, so if you have to put in 100 hours to make your music stream look cool, I mean, don't cry about it. Be happy that you have the opportunity, if you do, you know, to do it. I guess we're lucky that we have just the right amount of fan base. I think we have a relatively small fan base, but they're super supportive. So we have 300 people in the chat every week. Maybe it's not a coincidence that there's also about 300 people in my fan club, and they're giving me $10 a month. So that's a lot of money that and this stream, the studio that we have here, costs probably about $5,000. So, you know, just this stupid thing that lets me change the camera was $300. It's so overpriced, but you know, it makes it a lot easier. And someone a long time ago asked us about this equipment. I actually don't even buy this. I've got some sucker, Adam, the guy who dresses up like Sailor Moon. He just loves this analog video glitching equipment, and he buys it. And we're actually using like a hybrid of digital and analog video glitching effects. And we want to start our own video glitching company. So, you know, like we see this as, you know, we're selling grinders and all this stuff. It's a lifestyle company, 100% Electronica now. So we want to start selling little boxes like this and writing software for it. And we have the stream every week to show it off, you know, like, so people are asking us how we're doing it. That's kind of an industry secret, but trust me, we're putting a lot of time and effort into it. And Adam is too.
We'll probably wrap up soon. So if there's anyone in the chat who has like a final question, or if it's technical about how the 100% Electronica stream works, or anything else, just drop it in. I got a really random question, and again, it's like self-serving for if we ever start doing more regular streaming with Spirit Level. But I'm curious, like, do you have a routine for how you notify your fans that a stream is starting? Like, do you do the runaround on all of your other platforms and say, come and join us? Or like, what have you found has been most effective? Like those 300 people to begin with, like they didn't come from nowhere. So how did you pull them into Twitch? How do you do it? You know, if you were going to stream tomorrow, before you went live, what would be like your checklist for making sure that people knew it was going to happen beyond just being notified in the platform?
That's a good question. We started making these little ad mat things that are like the same format every week that you should recognize and be like, oh, there's one of those notifications. They're going to have another stream. And it says like special guest so-and-so, and, you know, vaguely what the stream's going to have. So we blast social media with that. But I think one of the things that really helped was when George made the 30-minute countdown, kind of like gave people a whole 30 minutes to start coming in and realizing it was about to start.
So if you're looking at the video on demand version, we actually cut that out in post. But every time before we start streaming, I've got a little 30-minute countdown. It plays old commercials from the 90s intermixed with music videos from the label, and just a timer that's counting down 30 minutes to showtime. And then we have our intro that we play at that moment. And so it gives people time to kind of share the link around, and they have kind of semi-engaging video content. Like the chat, you can watch the chat. They're always talking about, oh, this Taco Bell commercial is so funny. What is, you know, they're probably too young to remember the dog. And so they're like, why is the dog talking like that? You know, whatever it is. And that was a big thing. It also gives us time to prep all the links. So then we get our link. Another thing is, well, we didn't start off with 300 viewers. So having it at the same time every week was
really helpful.
Another good one. As we build up more followers, we have something that every time it's happened twice during this stream. I don't know if you saw it pop up in the middle, but every time we get a follower, it says so-and-so followed the channel. So when we start broadcasting, it blasts out to all of them. I'm going to have to assume that it doesn't automatically blast because we only have 20 people watching live right now. When you host, you have
When
to
you host, I don't
have
think
it on your channel.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then I think one of our biggest secrets is we use kind of a it's a rare software that's essentially what it is it's an Android phone emulator that you download on your phone. I mean, that you download on your computer on Windows or Mac. And you can, any Android phone emulator can do this. And then you can take your camera and you basically your OBS feed, have that on the computer being ran as a virtual camera, and then rebroadcast onto Instagram. And make sure that you overlay link in watch the full res thing with chat, link in bio. And they say, oh, George Clanton is live on Instagram. They click it, and then they have to turn their camera sideways to see, oh, it's the stream. And it says, oh, we're live on YouTube right now, link in bio. Then they go to my bio and link, and then they can watch it.
Yeah.
So that there was a big burst in that. Like, it's all these different things, whatever you can think of to get more, because we have big Instagram followings. That was a great one.
Yeah.
And
are you still
we also
broadcasting
used
on
our
YouTube
mailing
as
list.
well? Do you go live on Twitch and YouTube at the same time? And the chat
We go
rooms are
live
synced,
on Twitch.
aren't
They're synced. The chats are synced. We use Restream. I think it's Restream.io is the website, actually. And it's a free service. And yeah. So the two chats, whether you like YouTube or whether you are a Twitch person, Twitch tends to be a little higher res, but because we're not partnered with Twitch, we don't have what's called live transcoding, which means that you have to watch it in 1080p at 6000 kbps, which is the quality of the video for non-technical people. So we also simulcast to YouTube so that they can watch it in 480p if they have bad internet. And it will automatically fluctuate just like any YouTube video according to your connection. Twitch, unfortunately, unless you're a partner, does not do that. That brings me to another point. We're not partnered with Twitch because Twitch takes 40% of your donations that they get through the Twitch partnership program with bits and subscriptions. And people get little bonuses, like they can make different GIFs in the chat, if I forget what they call them on Twitch. Emotes, yeah. So I chose not to do that because, for one, we ultimately want to have people from all over the label to be streaming on this channel. And I don't want them to have to worry about, well, how much of that subscription belongs to me? So what we have done instead is we've hooked up a generic donations platform, and people only have the option to donate through PayPal. But when they donate through PayPal, it makes things happen on screen on our Twitch through a series of different bots and third-party programs that we have linked up to make effects on screen that are much more compelling than anything that Twitch has. So, in my opinion, we have one where if somebody donates $10, we call that an acid tab, because that's how much an acid tab costs on the black market. Forgive me, City of Melbourne. I'm not endorsing drugs necessarily, but if I was, that's probably one of the least ones that you'd be worried about as a law enforcement agency. So, anyway, just because of the nature of the trippy effects, that's kind of like an acid tab, right? So someone donates $10. And the way that works, because I get off on the technical stuff, is we have OBS using a virtual camera plugin, which I think is a Windows-only edition that you can get on the OBS Studio thing. You can't do it on Streamlabs. So OBS camera, which is how I'm talking to you right now. I'm using the OBS virtual camera, which is a plugin. So OBS Virtual Camera is running into this custom video glitching software that makes it kind of look like what we have going on behind me right now, but it takes our faces and does that slowly over 60 seconds. And you get to experience this acid trip. And it's really fun to look at. It's really funny. And a lot of times we interact with it, so it makes it look like really, like we'll make scary faces, and then the scary faces grow and morph and they look really weird. And people get a kick out of that. And so they, you know, it encourages them to donate. And it's another way of them being as a fan to interact directly with us. So, hey, I can donate $10 and I get to see George Clanton make a scary devil face. Like, worth it. What else am I going to do with $10? You know, buy a beer? I'd rather see George make a devil face and support this label and what they're doing with this otherwise free entertainment. So we have the camera running into that software, and then that software outputting back into the stream. And I'm controlling the software with a MIDI file that plays on Reaper, which is like a DAW like Logic or Cubase. And it plays a 60, the software is being controlled by MIDI, which I recorded into Reaper. And then I have a software using the same Twitch Plays software to say, okay, when someone donates $10, press play on Reaper. And then Reaper presses play, and the video camera goes from doing nothing to it starts virtually behind the scenes twisting the knobs on the software and making our face slowly trip out over a period of 60 seconds. And I don't have to do anything. It's all automated. And then after 60 seconds, it's already programmed to, okay, go back to no effect on the camera. So we have no control over it. If somebody donates $10 and we're trying to show them a picture of something, we can't do it. So it's chaotic and fun. And we want to do more stuff like that. And I think that more people should be doing it. And we kind of got that idea, you know, from, I guess, people like Sushi Dragon, you know, where it's just like, this is so chaotic. How can we add this element of chaos using kind of the virtual graphics? And that was what we came up with.
It's cool.
I've got maybe one last one from me. Although I don't know if you've got a camera, but I'm really curious to see what you're looking at. Like, do you have a camera that can turn around and show us like what screens you're looking at while you're streaming? Of all the cameras you got in there, have you got one pointing at that?
I can actually pick up this camera, but I think I can do you one better. If one of the people in the chat can control our 24/7 camera, I can show you an aerial view of what we have. It's not going to be perfect, but you can see where I am right here, and they're zooming in, but I think zooming out would actually be better. And okay, so they're controlling it with their text commands, but you know, we have a series of screens, and then right in front of me we have the cameras. I can actually pick up the camera and show you too if we want to switch back to the main camera. Give me a second.
Yeah, so and then over here, like the camera was panning to the right a little bit, and we have a third screen that's just a really big window of all of the chat that's typically coming through, so that we can read and interact with, you know, what everybody's saying.
That's so cool.
Uh-oh.
No signal.
Oh, it says no signal?
Yeah.
No, we're good now. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. I didn't see that other screen.
So there's the chat box.
Yeah, those were 2 screens. There's the chat box.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, awesome.
We have a
Woo.
And that's 2 cameras, so you got like one for the wide shot. I think we've lost audio on you, I think, George. But you got one camera for the wide shot and one for the close up.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, so there's the second camera, yeah, for the close-ups.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, very cool. I just have one more comment, actually, more than a question, which was that, you know, that amazing project that you were talking about with Red Bull, it sounds awesome. Will you plan on doing that? Like, is that still going to happen? Maybe post on your own, you're going to set it up, or is it just, because it sounded very cool. We can't get into it now, but yeah, just curious.
It's absolutely incredible, and we definitely will do it, and I hope to do it with Red Bull. I think that we will. I think that maybe the most interesting part about it, the most kind of like headline blockbustery element about it is still a secret, and we can even do kind of the virtual reality. I'm not trying to say I'm keeping it from you. I'm saying like we can still do, like I spilled the beans earlier on the stream about how I have a virtual reality version of how it works, and I think that we're going to premiere that this month in June, and after our next virtual reality concert, because we didn't even talk about that, so it's like, yeah, we're so fucking busy. There's just so much going on. But like the virtual reality concert, I think, is one of the most innovative things that we're doing right now. And that's got nothing to do with anybody. That's just something that we kind of came up with. And we want to partner with some people on it. And we're working on that. But like, I think after that comes out, we're going to launch the virtual reality version of the how to make music in this way that I invented and I wrote the software for, because it's going to be a cute surprise. But basically, in order to make an advertisement, because we were days away from announcing the Red Bull event, and then it was right when Corona was starting. They postponed it a week. They postponed it another week. They postponed it indefinitely. Then they canceled it. So it was just right there on the cusp. We almost did it. But so it's unfortunate, but Red Bull's invested already. They bought a lot of hardware for this amazing, like never been done before type technology that I don't mind telling you that I invented. And then but in order to make an advertisement for it, I use the same technology that I'm using to make the virtual reality kind of music videos, live shows that we're doing, which is the Unity game engine. It's like a way to make 3D video games, an alternative to the ever popular Unreal Engine. I mean, Unity is also extremely popular. But I made an advertisement in Unity to show people what it was going to look like. And because I had already made that video, all I had to do was add kind of the interactive video game working elements. And it was actually a lot easier to make it work in a virtual world than it was to make it work in real life with our hardware and software integration. Because a video game, I mean, what we're doing is almost like a video game in real life. So to use a video game software to create a video game, and it's made in such a way that we can have it work in VR chat, which is the most popular virtual reality program, because it's not like super video gamey. It's just a way for people to interact, and they can interact with music in real time. And it's just a magical thing that I feel like just worked out by chance. And it's so inspiring to me, the way that these things just keep working out. That's what keeps me going. So as fucking vague and irritating as that was to hear, I'm sure, in a couple of weeks we'll have a really fun like little game that we can play together.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys. George, Lindsay. It's
yeah.
Thanks for taking time out.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Keep doing it. It's a big inspiration, like across the label and what you're doing on Twitch, but just everything really, the way you are kind of staying true to what you're about, but you're also just expanding your audience in a real kind of just normal, organic way. Like it's just, it's a real inspiration. So keep doing what you're doing.
And I think to that, like, all the hard work that you put in it, I think it's hard to see that when you watch the stream. So yeah, it's good to hear about it, and also really appreciate it because it's awesome. We tune in regularly, so we're big fans.
What do you mean it's hard to see?
Well, I mean, like it's so like
I'm just kidding.
It's so laid back, but it's like the visuals look awesome, but it seems like you do it with such ease, is what I mean.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's natural, but it does, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to work hard if you're doing something that you love. So we go from having mental breakdowns to saying, I can't believe this is my life. We're having the time of our life. So You know, the world is fucked right now. We're not happy with that. Not to say that, you know, we've got plenty to be upset about. But as far as the label goes, you know, I don't know what I would be doing differently. This is kind of my dream to be able to make the rules. And I don't think that we would have any of this if it was anyone else making the rules. You know, it's kind of amazing that we get to come up with what we want to do and then do it. And then people say, that's what we want. Thank you. You know, people don't know what they want until they see it. And it's fun to keep surprising them.
Well, we'll put this whole chat up somewhere, I think on YouTube, for anyone who's kind of jumped in halfway through and wants to watch the whole thing from the top. And yeah, you know, follow 100% Electronica,
I think we lost him.
follow Spirit Level. You can learn a little bit more about what we do as a label over here in Melbourne if you found this stream today through George. And yeah, we'll do this like we do this every month. That's about as much as we can find time to do in terms of streaming at the moment with Spirit Level. So we'll have another conversation next month, and I think we can, if we confirmed Nirmala who we're doing.
Yeah, I think
it with,
you can say
I think we
actually.
can say, yeah.
Actually, you, George Lindsay, might find this person interesting. We're going to be talking to David Wexler, who is Strange Loop TV. He does. He did like the 3D show for Flying Lotus. He works for Warp Wave VR, which is basically a company in Texas, I think, that try and do VR concerts. He's also working on a thing called Spirit Bomb, which is AI artists. So yeah, it's yeah, super excited to have him on next week. So yeah, we'll confirm that soon. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if you haven't heard of him, I think he's based in LA too. Should definitely chat to him because he's awesome.
Yes, I have heard of him, and we will be tuning in.
Yes.
Sounds like the God version of me.
Yeah, yeah, but he's like, no, his stuff is amazing. He did like the 3D show for Flying Lotus and has done lots of amazing work. So yeah, definitely tune in for that one.
All
Awesome.
right. Thanks so much for having
Awesome.
us. The chat said that this was the best interview yet, and they're talking about me, not you guys. Like, so I'm sure that you guys had better interviews. So they're saying, as far as us go, this is the best interview they've seen of us.
Wow.
So I can't wait to get this up and share it with our fans so they can kind of. I know I get asked a lot about how this works, and I'm kind of guarded about it because one, it's kind of boring to just waste time on explaining it to each person individually, but two, it's also, you know, this is I'm trying to get my head start before people steal all my ideas and people think that they invented it.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. I think.
Thanks very much for having us do this. I think it's cool to get the information out there, and I want more people to be making you know, fun streams. So let's do it. Let's get it. Let's get that paper.
Yeah.
Great. All right, have a good night.
All right, thanks.
You too.
Right. See you
Have a
guys.
good day.
Yeah.
See
Cool.
ya.
Bye bye.